So today, we'll talk about this concept of anicca. It's a Pali word and means, or most commonly translated as impermanence. So last week we talked about Dukkha, or the concept of stress, unsatisfactoriness. And we kind of talked about how to recognize it, the fact that there is pain everywhere, there is things that you don't like, and having things that you don't like, not having things that you like, all of this causes stress. And so we talked about that. Just talked about the fact that it's there everywhere. It's you need to kind of reorient yourself to be able to see the world in that way, and recognize, and then try to see how you can reduce the pain for yourself and for your environment. Right. So today we'll talk a little bit about anicca. This is the second of what Buddha called the three traits of all life forms. So, right. So these three are permanently existing all the time, everywhere there is life. So we'll talk about this one today.
Sir, are you recording it?
I'm recording it. Yes. Thank you. Now that you ask. Yeah, you may have lost the screen there a little bit.
Sir, one doubt ide kelboda.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Anicca anta ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, but spelling Anicca ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Like why?
Yeah, it's so I'm trying to use the spellings that you can search for on Google. It's anicca. I think when it started being written, there is a stroke under the C. So if you look at the sankhara or N, there is a dot on N, because that is read as sang. But I don't know the strokes properly.
Okay.
So I haven't used. There is a stroke under the C, which makes the C to be read as cha.
Okay.
Okay. But if you were to just write it in English, you would say Aniccha.
Okay.
I don't use that because if you look it up in Google, you will not probably find what you're looking for.
Okay.
So this is the commonly accepted spelling for it. There is a stroke under C.
Okay, sir.
Which I don't. I mean, sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't get it. So I don't, always write it. Okay. Yeah. It's anicca. Okay. All right. Okay. So once again, to just introduce any of these topics, I'd like to start off with the quote. The Buddha said, "Sabbe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasyati atha nibbindati dukke esamago visuddhya." Right, now let's look at what this means. Right, so all conditioned things and mental formations are impermanent. When looked at with understanding and wisdom, nibbindati dukke, you can overcome stress, pain, suffering, all of that. Esamaggo Visuddhya. So this is the path to mental purity. So if you look at the teachings of the Buddha, everything comes towards developing this concept of mental purity. What is the concept of mental purity? A mind that is free from ill will, free from hatred, free from lust, free from jealousy, free from desire, all of these things that cause attachment and cause eventual pain. To be free from those is the goal of this teaching, right? To be less burdened by things around you, and so you start feeling free, or you start feeling comfortable, right? So this is one of his quotes. I'll take you through another one. And actually, these are, interestingly, these are the last words of the Buddha. And it does look like the last words as well, because it's interesting. He says, "Appamadena sampadeta vaidhamma sankhara." Literally, when the Buddha is on his deathbed, this is what he utters. There are hundreds of his disciples, hundreds of commoners there, and he asks Ananda, his assistant, to basically see if there are any questions that anybody has. He keeps asking that multiple times. He says, once I'm gone, some of these answers may not be with a live person who has experienced some of these things. So if you have any questions, this is the time, go for it. Right? So, and after all of it, he says, this is the most important thing to remember. Appamadena sampadeta vaidhamma sankhara. And this is what it means. Earn your own salvation by working tirelessly with diligence. Every sankhara, mental formation or physical manifestation, is subject to decay. Right? So here what he says is very important to understand, and this is one of the cornerstones of his teachings. Also, I feel one of the cornerstones should be of any teaching is to, firstly, for every person to take responsibility for his own development. Like, there is no other person, however close or far, or however a guru or a teacher or whatever the person may be, there is no other person that can affect an internal change in you unless you yourself experiment, understand, and effect that change. Right? So it's very, very important to understand. So when the Buddha is leaving, this is something that he stresses on in multiple verses, where he's saying, Atta Deepa Bhava. So he says, you be an island unto yourself. Right? So that's also one of his last words. I don't have it here. So he says this is the fundamental thing that you need to understand, that you need to work. You need to work for your own freedom, right? For you to feel better, for you to feel wellness, for you to feel more comfortable in your environment, for you to be more productive or more useful in your environment. It's you who need to work tirelessly and with diligence, appamadena, without resting, without tirelessly, diligence, right? Vaidhamma sankara. Everything is subject to decay. Literally, it almost means everything is subject to decay. And it's up to you to understand this and work with diligence to overcome the stresses that are associated with the concept of impermanence, a decay, right? Let's move on. I'll try to explain what I understand from this. So in general, impermanence is something that I think, all of us fairly easily understand, because, in the physical, I'll talk about, kind of two places where impermanence is impacting, right? So, in the physical world, right, you see things changing. Now, it was just a little dark when we started this about 10-15 minutes back. Now you see this, the horizon is a little bit brighter. So it's every moment there is change. It's the change that makes you realize that the moment has passed. Literally, I can say impermanence is what makes you what you are. It's impermanence that makes you understand that there is life. Because without impermanence, life does not exist, right? So it's one of the fundamental core characteristics of any life form. So you see it in the physical world. You see yourself growing older. You see people around you growing older. You may recognize it, with like with kids who, there is the rate of growth is faster, or with elderly people also, where rate of growth may be, or rate of decay may be faster. So you see that everywhere in yourself. You see it, how you felt maybe a few years ago. You may not be feeling the same, and things like that. So you always see that in the physical world, the fact of impermanence. You see it everywhere around you. You see it. You see it in the physical world. But what's also important to understand is the same thing happens in your emotional or psychological world. You have, I have just a few things here. This is not exhaustive lists. I just listed a few for just you to go through and understand this. You have desires, behaviors. What are you? You are just a product of your desires, your goals, your opinions, intentions, priorities, behaviors, several other things that you have mental constructs about. But even those change. It's very important to understand that your desires also change. I mean, you just go back and look at your life and you say, okay, what did I like, or what did I want when I was I was 20 years old, or when 20 years back, what did I want versus 10 years back, what did I want versus 5 years back, what did I want? And what do I want now? You will realize that, even those desires are changing, right? And similarly, your goals change, your behaviors change. For the same thing that you see, your reactions would have changed because they may have become less important to you over time. Similarly, your opinions change, your intentions change as well. So a lot of these things are subject to change. Everything, we try to hold on to something and we fight about it. We, hurt people, we hurt ourselves, and a lot of things we do. And in the next day, that's not even important, right? So it's important to understand this as a reality. That even what we think is like extremely important to us, this is, I cannot live without, even that is subject to decay. Not just the fact that you may think, okay, I cannot live without this person, that other person is subject to decay. Not just that, your own thought about the other person is also subject to decay. Tomorrow you may fight and you may think, oh my God, what the hell did I think? I don't want to live with this person. Right? So not just the fact that in the physical world there is things that are changing, it's also important to understand that in your mental constructs, even those constructs are changing. Even what you think about something, even that is changing, right? So very important to understand. Also, I I want to bring up an important quote from Heraclitus. Greek philosopher. I mean, there is a lot of work in Greek philosophy that's been done around some of these concepts. So no man ever steps in the same river twice. It's a very famous quote. You can look it up on Google as well. Heraclitus actually literally used this as one of the fundamentals of his teachings. What he was trying to say there was the fact that everything is changing. You can never get back into the same. You can never get the same moment back. Once you, like it's a river, everything is flowing. You can never get back to the same moment. Every moment is different. Every moment is new. Every moment is born when the previous moment dies. So there is death and rebirth happening all the time. So it's important to understand, just to keep it on a lighter note, one of the things I kind of came across, and this too shall pass phrase. Actually, this is interesting. What happened to me when I was doing my MBA in Texas was my professor had given a exam, and this was in slides, questions, and actually one of the slides, right, was this slide. He said, don't worry, however you're doing this exam, I'm sure this too shall pass. You may be feeling it's tough, or you may be feeling whatever you're feeling, but this too shall pass. And that's, it was very interesting for me. It kind of struck me at that point, right? So this too shall pass is something that is, is very important to try and have at the top of your mind all the time. Like the concept of dukkha, trying to understand and recognizing suffering, trying to understand and recognizing that every moment is passing. I think that's important. And we'll see how that can be used. The fact of impermanence, how do you use it? How do you understand, and how do you try to apply it? When you're in stress, when I'm saying stress, I am meaning dukkha, which basically encompasses grief, sorrow, lamentation, depression, and just everything that we talked about last week, right? When you're in moments of stress, it's very important to recognize and be patient, because things will change. Right? There is stress. It could be because of your actions in the past. It could be because of somebody's actions in the past, somebody's actions now, your action now, whatever it is, it's try to be patient, allow change to set in, because it is going to happen. Whatever it is, things will change. And in moments of stress, you typically end up, spreading that stress around, right? Typically, if you are, hey, I've been in a bad mood, so I'm going to shout at a few people, right? So that typically does not help, because the moment when you start getting better, the other person is going to shout back at you, right? So it's good to be kind to others, so others don't need to suffer your stress, right? So do not spread your suffering, do not spread your stress. So it's very important to try and do that. Try to work, try to, be a little bit more aware of your breathing, aware of the environment, aware of the fact that there is stress, and aware of the fact that if you hold on, things will change, right? So this is in moments of stress. In moments that are free from stress, where you're feeling, oh, this is great, this is a great moment, understand that this moment also will move, right? So be conscious, absorb the moment as much as you can, and let go with gratitude. It's very important to let go moments with gratitude, because that allows you to develop your mental states for your future, right? So it's important to be grateful for the moment that you have, rather than cling to it, because however hard you cling, the harder you cling, the deeper the stress that you feel, right? So understand that the moment will be lost and let go with gratitude. Okay. So that is kind of all I have. There's just one other basic concept that I want to bring up. And this is, I feel this is Dukkha, Anicca kind of together, and having a paradigm shift, right? So this is a reorientation, trying to understand these concepts requires a reorientation of yourself to be able to understand, appreciate, and implement it, right? So with Dukkha and with Anicca, it's important to understand that Dukkha is everywhere, right? Whenever you're under stress, understand that the stress is everywhere. This is not something that only you are facing. You're not the first person to face stress, and you will not be the last person to be under stress. Right? Please understand that this is a marker of living. This is a marker of life forms. So it is there. Everybody is experiencing it. Everybody is experiencing it in their own, based on their own actions, their own past and stuff like that. So you are facing it based on your actions and your past. So it's important to recognize that this is there, but this is everywhere. When you start saying, okay, you know, I can recognize stress everywhere, it actually kind of lowers your burden for yourself around this concept. So in this, I'll try and quickly talk about the story of Kisa Gautami. And this is a very popular story. We've talked about this several times in class. And most of you who may have read even, you know, like that Amar Chitrakatha of Buddha or whatever, any of the small stories of Buddha, you'll probably have come across this, one of the more popular stories from his life. So, you know, there is a woman who comes crying to the Buddha, completely mad, literally having lost balance of her mind, and clutching on to her dead child. And she comes and she says, you know, I've heard that you are a great person, and that you can do magic, and that you can, you know, help me. You may bring my child to life. So here it is. Firstly, I don't even believe. It's difficult for her to even believe that her child is gone. She says, I don't even believe this is gone. He's just sleeping. He's going to wake up. And she says, help me. Right. And you know, it's like any of Buddha's stories, very you know, unique ways that Buddha used to help people understand concepts. So the Buddha says, okay, you know, sure, we can, I'll do what I can, and I'll try to bring this child back to life. But for that, I need a handful of mustard seeds from any household in this village. And she feels, oh, this is so easy to do. I can go get a handful of mustard seeds, and she starts. And the Buddha says the only condition is that when you go to the household, I want this from a household where nobody has died. And she says, oh, that's fine, no problem, I'll find. And she goes, she starts off, and you know the story, and you know the reality of this as well. She goes to a house, and she knocks, and she says, "I've lost my child. Buddha has said he will revive the child for me. I need a handful of mustard seeds." And then she says, "I hope nobody has died in your house, because he wants it from a house that nobody has died." And this person says, "Oh no, my mother died just 2 months back. Um, so sorry, maybe you need to go further. I'm not be able to help you." And she goes to another place. There, somebody else's brother has died. In another place, somebody else's father has died. Some spouse has died. So she keeps going. She's still delusional, unable to see the reality. In that continued delusion, she goes on and on, house to house. By evening, she has literally visited every house in the city, and every home in the city, and she's unable to get mustard seeds. And then it starts dawning upon her that the pain that she is going through is the pain that everyone is going through. Right? That's the lesson that she learns. She goes back to the Buddha and says, she sees what he was trying to say. She doesn't ask for her child's life. She says, "Okay, I understand. Yeah, this is what is going to happen. This is what is just reality everywhere." Right? So that's very important to understand two things from this. One is that there is stress, but the other thing is that it's important to understand in moments of extreme stress, in moments where you feel really you're being attacked, it's just not comfortable, you're being kind of strangled, you're being, you don't have the freedom that you would like to have. In those moments, it's important to understand that this pain that you're going through is not just yours. It's there everywhere. Everybody is going through pain. It's there everywhere. It's just a marker of your life. Be patient and things will change, right? So it's very, very important to understand that things will change. Anicca is the fundamental of all life forms, fundamental reality of all life forms. So to recognize that things will change, and to recognize that you're not the center of all the pain in the world. You're also a being. You're also going through your share of challenges and stress and suffering. And similarly, every living form is going through its own stress, right? So when you recognize that, when you see that for what it is, saying, "Hey, this is there everywhere," it starts lessening your burden. So this paradigm shift in your understanding of these concepts is extremely important, right? It's not, these are not like, okay, you do this, you don't do this kind of thing. This is important to understand that you look at the world differently. You look at the world as products of some of these things, products of impermanence, products of stress. And you'll be able to create that paradigm shift within you to be able to better handle that, to be able to not get depressed even when there is stress. Sometimes, Buddha talks about this as a continuum: sorrow and grief, and then lamentation, and then depression, and then exhaustion. Actually, he talks about that as a continuum. You start off with a little bit of sorrow and grief, and then you lament about it. And the more you lament about it, the more depressed you are. The more depressed you are, the more exhausted you are. You start becoming exhausted. And this is a continuum. Is very similar to the general adaptation syndrome that's talked about by Hans Selye, where he also says your stress response is to do some things and then completely be exhausted. right? When something goes wrong, you just kind of get hyper and try to overcome it, and then you're not able to overcome it. Over time, you just get exhausted, right? So that is he calls general adaptation syndrome, Hans Selye. Um, so so these are markers. These are, so to be able to overcome this, to overcome sorrow, overcome grief, overcome lamentation, depression, and exhaustion, recognizing that this is everywhere, recognizing that, there may be some things that you did that are causing this, and start going inward, trying to see what you can do to overcome this. And the fact that that moment will pass and it will change and a better day will come. I think these two will help you in overcoming and understanding these concepts as a shift in how you think about life, how you think about manifestations, how you think about things that you see around you. Okay, all right, that's all I have for the day. Any questions? I'll take any questions now.